have to tell you one thing, personal experience I had with this. I just come back from 2 weeks in California, and the whole time, this stuff's no joke to me. I am so profoundly committed to living this radical gratitude stuff. Like, I know it is the key to so much. So I was doing it, you know, really for anything that came up where it felt applicable. But I have to tell you this one thing that happened right at the end. I was getting ready to get on the plane to come back to New York. And when you're waiting for a plane and the waiting room is super crowded and all the seats are taken, so you don't really have a lot of choice about moving because they're going to be boarding. Anyway, so the guy next to me, I'm sure you've had somebody do this. He turned on his phone and just started to watch a movie really loud with no headset. Right? It was just blasting. And there was really nowhere else for me to go. So I just turned to him and I said, "Can you put in your headset?" And he said, "No." And there was like this moment. And I could feel this stuff bristling in me. He had a headset. He did not want to use it. And stuff is like arising in me. And he, we're all interconnected. So he can obviously feel my unhappiness with him. And I can feel this guy digging in. You know that experience when you're annoyed with a partner or you're annoyed with your kid and they're feeling you digging in to that. Oh, and the more you're digging in, the more they're sending back this energy like, try me. Nothing's changing. I'm not doing what you want. So in that moment, like we had this energetic standoff for about 5 minutes while I'm listening to this crazy loud movie. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, radical gratitude. Forgot. So I'm closing my eyes. By the way, you don't have to do this. Somebody wrote in and they're like, you have to meditate to do this. You don't. I just close my eyes so I can focus better. And I'm just in there and I'm like, thank you, God, for this annoyance and this irritation and this, feeling of invasion. And thank you, for me, sometimes I do include the event, not just the emotion. I'm like, thank you for this incredibly selfish man who's next to me who just could care less. Thank you for him. And I'm just sitting there and I'm sending it. And after a moment or two, you may find this yourself if you've been doing this for a while. The turnaround is relatively quickly, and I'm starting to melt and I'm starting to soften. And this is tricky because his movie was so invasive, and I'm just softening into the invasion of his sounds. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I open my eyes and I look over at him, and he's put on his headset. And I just knew this is how it works. Now, again, not every time, but there's something to this. It's the oppositional energy that so often strengthens the problem. And this happened, funny enough, when I got back to New York. So many of you have been sending in amazing experiences, and I am going to share some of them in a little bit. But this one woman had written in about how she's in a relationship with somebody that she had known forever, that her husband needed to go to therapy. And she has been begging him and crying and yelling and then just stonewalling him, like, okay, well then I'm not going near you or talking to you. None of this has worked. And this has gone on and on. I think, she was saying for like the last, 11 years has just been her anger that he won't go and face his demons. So she started to use this. Thank you, the whole thing. Thank you for how frustrated this makes me. Thank you for how powerless this makes me. Thank you for all my anger at this. Because she didn't feel like she wanted to leave. She just wanted it to change. Anyway, long story short, in the time between the last class started and now the guy got into therapy. Not from her haranguing or harassing or pushing, because she finally moved out of the oppositional energy. And the reason I think that this works so well is that you're not going in and blaming yourself and saying, well, I shouldn't be oppositional. I shouldn't be blaming them. I shouldn't. That just digs you in deeper. What you're doing is you're entering, it's like you're entering the holy sanctuary of your own emotion. You're entering it and you're saying, yes, I see you. You have every right to feel that. I honor you. I will take care of this emotion. I will give it the space it needs. But as you do that, this ring of fire starts to change. It's, we're going to get more and more over these 4 weeks into this idea of the ring of fire, because there's so much that it creates. It's shame, blame, and resentment. It's all in the money book if you haven't read that and it's not your money. But we're going to just work with it here, that especially that energy when you're dealing with other people, the energy of blame and resentment will so often keep pushing them directly into the opposite of what you're hoping for. And this is also very, very powerful. If any of you have teenagers, or really any kids, this is one of the secrets. If you're in there like, I'm blaming you, I'm resenting you, forget it. They have antennae 10 feet tall of feeling that. So you're thanking the oppositional emotions. And then they start to melt.